Hiya, Barbie.
Hi, Ken.
You want to go do a podcast?
Sure.
Jump in.
Ladies and gentlemen, Barbies and Kens, Chelseas of all ages, and everyone else, welcome to Considering Christopher, a Christopher Nolan movie podcast. I'm your host, Jay, and with me I have my wonderful co-host. You watched 43 Barbie movies, you recorded episodes, you did wonderful things, really wonderful things, John, and all for nothing?
For nothing?
Yeah.
You never understood why we did this. The audience knows the truth. The world is simple. It's miserable, solid all the way through. But if you can fool them, even for a second, then you can make them wonder. And then you got to see something really special. It was the look on their faces. Thank you. Where do I get my Oscar?
Yeah, today we are talking about Christopher Nolan's fifth film, The Prestige.
Ooh,
Indeed.
prestige.
Yeah, this was released October 20th, 2006, directed by Christopher Nolan, written by Jonathan and Christopher Nolan, based on the novel by Christopher Priest. Have you ever read the novel?
I have not. I didn't even know
Okay.
it was a thing.
Well, I just read the novel, as in, I just finished listening to it. I was listening on times 3 speed to
Okay.
get it done before we started recording.
How was that experience?
Interesting. It's very loosely, like, the bones are similar, but it's a very loose adaptation. I'll bring it up a couple times, but I won't belabor it too much because there are people who do that specifically. We don't need to go into all of the adaptational changes, but there are a few interesting ones that I picked up on. But yeah, the film has cinematography by Wally Pfister, music by David Julian. He's a composer who's mainly known for his work on early Nolan films, but he also did the scores for The Descent and Cabin in the Woods. So sort of more in the horror thriller genre. And yeah, this was initially a book that Christopher Nolan read back in 2000. The book came out in 1995. But Nolan gave it to his brother with the intent of working on it together to adapt it. And they worked on the script for 5 years, tried to translate. The book is written sort of as a series of journals. So you get there's a framing narrative, actually. There's present day, a reporter who's a descendant of Borden shows up and gets this mysterious invite and shows up at this mansion. And then you get Borden's journal, then you get Angier's journal, and then you get the end of the framing narrative. So they were kind of trying to figure out how to work that into a more cinematic way. They got rid of the framing narrative and changed actually quite a bit. But yeah, most of the film, oddly enough, was shot in Los Angeles. Usually Nolan likes to work in the UK, but for this one, that is primarily set in London, shot in Los Angeles.
As they do, yeah.
Yep. They had various different locations serving as stand-ins for turn-of-the-century London theaters and apartments and buildings. And the exteriors, a lot of them were done on the Universal backlot, which is iconic location. That's, they have sets that you can use in outdoor areas that are made for filming.
Universal really loves their backlot. That's for sure.
Oh, yeah.
All right. Shall we get into the story synopsis?
Yeah, I tried to condense it a bit from the last few, so hopefully it still makes sense.
All right, let's go for it. Okay, we got like these two young magicians, Alfred Borden and Robert Angers, and they're working as magician's assistants in like 1890s London. I'm not going to do that for the whole thing, by the way. But one night, while helping them with a water tank trick, Borden ties a different knot than usual. But the woman performing the trick, Angier's wife, is unable to escape the knot and drowns. How very tragic. So the act gets closed down because they can't perform it anymore because she's dead. And several months later, Angier shows up at one of Borden's shows and intentionally sabotage a bullet catch trick, which results in Borden losing 2 fingers. Ouch.
Yeah.
And this sparks a very violent feud between the two, causing them to sabotage each other's tricks, often ending with broken bones and hurting on the audience members.
Yeah.
But down on his luck, Borden debuts his greatest trick, the Transported Man, which becomes a success despite Borden's lack of showmanship. Eager to best Borden, Angier becomes obsessed with replicating the trick, first hiring a double, and when that doesn't work, getting his assistant, Olivia, to spy on Borden for him. He is convinced that the trick is being achieved without a double. And one night, Olivia steals Borden's journal and brings it to Angier's. Unable to decode the cipher it is written in, Angier's kidnaps Borden's engineer, Fallon. And to save Fallon, Borden gives Angier's the keyword Tesla. And so Angier goes to Colorado Springs to find Tesla, living in retirement after the failure of his alternating current. Angier enlists Tesla's help to make a machine capable of literally transporting a man. Tesla is able to make the machine, except of transporting objects, it duplicates them. And so satisfied, Angiers moves back to London and plans a limited run of 100 shows, using the machine to make it look like he is transported. Borden, also still caught up in their rivalry, sneaks backstage on the night of the last performance and sees Angiers fall through a trapdoor in the stage and into a water tank where he drowns. And so Borden is convicted for the murder of Angiers and sentenced to death. Oh boy, what is this thing? And so a mysterious man named Lord Caldwell offers to buy all of Borden's secrets in exchange for keeping his daughter safe. Man, this time period sucks. Um, but the day before Borden is hanged, he's visited by Lord Caldwell, who turns out to be Angiers. And it turns out Angiers has been the son of nobility this entire time, who has been using a fake name and accent to keep his family name untarnished. So he framed Borden as revenge, and Borden is hanged. Oh, abracadabra. But sometime later, while locking away the machine for the final time, Angiers is shot by none other than Borden! And so it turns out Borden was actually a set of twins. One would dress as Borden and one as Fallon, switching between the two depending on the circumstances. The one time they would both be themselves was when performing the Transported Man act. And so Angier just dies amidst the drowned bodies of all of his clones, and Borden is reunited with his daughter. Oh man, this film is so dark.
Yeah, it is sort of a twisting, turning puzzle box of weirdness and vengeance and obsession. And
Yeah.
now I do want to mention first, so you know how we've been tracking the dead wives and girlfriends in Nolan movies?
Yes.
So guess what's not in the book?
Oh.
Neither of the wives die in the book.
Oh boy.
So that is an invention by Nolan. That was something I was thinking. Oh, and of course, as I'm listening to the book, oh, this will be the scene where the wife dies. Oh, no, she doesn't. Okay, never mind then.
I mean, the
Yeah.
wives dying does make it more personal, that's for sure.
Well, in the book, it's a miscarriage that Borden accidentally causes. So
Mm.
so it is still very personal.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
But throughout it, like their sabotaging of each other is less sort of deadly until a certain point when Borden escalates. And throughout the whole thing, well, part of it is also since it's being written in journals rather than presented cinematically, it's more subjective. So you
Right.
have to read between the lines as okay, what's actually going on here versus what are they sort of feeding as the truth.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
And yeah, it is very different. But the bare bones are very similar. It's just the no dead wives thing kind of stood out to me as an interesting addition from the Nolan brothers here.
Yeah, I mean, there's something about their dead wife thing that's Nolan. Like something happened to that man.
But yeah, no, this film is sort of brilliantly structured.
Mm,
It has a non chronological order, which isn't always my favorite, but here it just flows so well.
right.
Like you're able to keep track of the timelines surprisingly well. Although it's been a while since I first saw this, so maybe it doesn't flow as well at a first watch. But
For the most part, it does it really well, and you can understand the time.
yeah,
Like once you get it, you get it.
yeah. Now we should set up our experiences with this. So this was one of the early Nolan films that I saw, probably either right before or right after I saw the Dark Knight trilogy.
Mm.
I borrowed the DVD from my grandparents' library and I watched it. And immediately, right after I finished it, I watched it again.
Uh huh.
It's one of the very few times that I've done that. But I just wanted to see how everything played out.
Right. So the first time I watched this, it was in 2006 when it came out, but it was on the air. I was on an airplane.
Oh,
It was one of those films that you didn't choose to watch it. It was just one
yeah.
they showed for you. And so I was like, I was about 8 at the time, so I was like loosely watching it, loosely falling asleep. I vividly remember the light bulb being held in the hand, being like, "Whoa, that's so cool."
Yeah.
Um, and then I guess my family watched it again a couple years later. But yeah, it wasn't really until like a few years ago. We had a class where they talked about the Prestige. I don't remember what class it was, but they showed the opening clip where they talk about the Prestige, which
Yeah.
they used it as like a metaphor for some biblical principle that we learned. I don't remember what that was, but I watched the movie and was like, ah, yes, good, cool, Nolan, good stuff. Then I watched it again a couple years back, and I was like, ah, yes. But no, this last time was just so much fun. I really enjoyed just watching the setup and just the constant thematic visuals. They're like, oh, that's the trick right there. Oh, the birds, the symbolism, like the doubles, that darn bouncy ball. It's like, ah, okay. It's all there. It's showing us. It's really neat.
Yeah. No, it's again so well constructed in terms of, you have not only the big twist but also a lot of smaller twists that it's all leading up to. And it's all set up in such a way that watching it the first time you don't catch on until the moment you're supposed to.
Yeah.
Watching it again, you realize, oh, from the very beginning, they're telling us exactly what's going on.
Oh yeah.
Like
No.
the first Christian Bale narration, he says like, "We were two young men in London." First time around, you assume it's him and Hugh Jackman. Second time around, you're like, "Oh no, he's referring to him and his twin."
Yeah, and he's talking when they go to see that magic act. Like he's talking about like the act is just being the old man in public. Like
Yeah,
that's the act, and it's like, oh, well, that's what he's doing right now. It's very interesting for sure.
yeah, and that is actually one thing that's carried over from the book pretty directly. That the older Asian man who pretends to walk with a limp, um, but is actually doing that to hide the fact that in his magic act he's carrying a bowl of goldfish between his legs. Obviously, usually you could tell if someone's carried a bowl of goldfish between their legs, but since he's always sort of hobbling around, everyone assumes it's just, oh, that's just how he normally walks.
Right? Yeah. No, we don't really have that today. Just hiding their public selves to be a character, just for
Yeah,
the sake of doing a character for a show.
Yeah. And who knows how prevalent it was back then? Probably someone knows, but
I mean, back then, like they could do whatever they want. Like
yeah.
people, they're okay if you get shot at a show. They're like, oh yeah, okay, we want to see danger. Now it's like, no, we don't want to see that. They'll throw
Yeah.
tomatoes and rocks if you suck. Here it's like, okay, yeah, okay, clap clap, whatever.
Yeah.
And like,
And yeah.
we're not surprised by magic anymore.
Yeah.
Ah,
It's I don't know what it is. It's just kind of I think especially with the internet it's just too widely circulated.
right, and just we don't have magic shows really
Yeah.
coming out as well. Like we go to the movie theaters, there's live theater, but we don't have like vaudeville acts anymore that were like very
Yeah.
popular. I mean, we still have comedians, but like vaudeville acts,
Yeah.
that's a whole thing.
Yeah, and it is interesting sort of diving into this world of the past that still like this isn't a film obsessed with the past because it has a lot to say about art
Yeah.
and craft and dedication right now, but it is using this lens of sort of the past and yeah, this sort of setup of each magic trick. The idea is that each magic trick has the setup where they establish the status quo, and then the turn is where, okay, here's something weird that's going on. So the bird has disappeared, the whatever. And
Yeah.
then the prestige is when, okay, here's where you bring it all back. This is, here's the bird back again. You have to make it disappear and then bring it back again.
Yeah. And the prestige is like the most important part because
Yeah.
without that, the act doesn't sell.
Yeah, that's the catharsis of it.
Mm-hmm.
And the film is structured so that there's multiple of these, which kind of makes the whole film feel like a magic show that you're watching.
Yeah.
And it makes multiple viewings incredibly rewarding because you get to see the tricks that the narrative is employing to sort of shift your focus away from what the actual magic is,
Right.
what the twist is, to kind of confound you, because it is very sleight of hand. They are telling you what the twist is from the very beginning, but you don't realize it until you
Mm-hmm.
rewatch it.
Yeah. There was a scene where Borden is all about not telling you how a trick is done because once you
Yeah.
know the secret, you don't really care about it. But now today, everybody cares about the secret. In fact, people like the secret more than the actual thing itself, which is like good for them. Magicians can come back and do their secrets, and people will eat it up. So there you
Yeah.
go.
Yeah, it's just an interesting, and Nolan has tried to do this sort of puzzle box story again. And sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes he makes an Inception and sometimes he makes a Tenet.
Yeah, sometimes, yeah.
But I like that. I think what makes this puzzle box work is that it's built on a strong enough foundation. We have this sort of story about these 2/3 magicians who are sort of caught up in this cycle of vengeance and obsession, and
Yeah.
they're constantly drawn back together in this like web of lies and secrets and obsession, and then you build the puzzle box around that.
Yeah.
And yeah, you have these characters who are often, I was thinking of this in comparison with Joker from Dark Knight, which we talked about last week.
Okay.
Joker is almost always lying. Here, characters are almost always telling the truth, but in ways that obfuscate the meaning.
Hmm.
So Angier being this lord, he sort of makes reference to it throughout, but it isn't until the end of the film that you realize, oh, he's this entire time been like this wealthy nobleman who.
I actually didn't catch that at the end.
Okay.
I just thought like, huh, how did he do that? Like, how does he have all this money? Like, has he been like hiding it in the past? I thought the trick was pretending to be the Lord. Okay, now that makes more sense now.
Yeah.
I didn't.
And that is obviously something in the book they get much more into both of or all of the characters' backstories, and it's actually like a huge driving factor for that character. Here it's
Mm-hmm.
more just kind of a twist. We'll talk a bit about that later and how that maybe could have been given a finer point here.
Sure. Yeah.
Um, oh yeah. Also, sort of this thing of Borden in his narrations is constantly using plural pronouns to refer to himself.
Mm-hmm.
So we did this, and it's subtle enough. It's employed very well. I think the novel actually does something. It's a little less subtle, but I also like it. It's because the idea is the two twins have been writing this journal together. So one will write a little bit, then the next will write a little bit, but they
Mm-hmm.
always refer to each other as I or me. So, for example, I don't know why I wrote that yesterday. I need to talk to myself about that
Ah. Okay.
to kind of, and since in that part of the book the twist hasn't been revealed. I obviously knew the twist going into the book, but kind of puts you a little bit like questioning. Wait a second, what's going on here?
Yeah.
Here
Boy.
they're a little bit more subtle, using the we.
Ah, Borden. He really just should have told his wife that he had a brother.
Yeah, we'll get into that
Ah, boy.
because I think we do need to talk about Sarah.
Poor Sarah. Oh,
Yeah, no, we definitely need to.
I don't agree with Sarah. Why? Like, why? We'll get to that, but
Yeah,
still.
we also have sort of the character of Olivia who kind of throws a wrench into everything. Where initially she's spying for Angier, but then it turns out she's actually betraying him and wants to work with Borden, and then ends up having a falling out with Borden as well.
Mm-hmm.
Sort of that, again, these complex interpersonal relationships and truth and lies and everything's being thrown into this soup. And it's like this big puzzle box. And then once you've solved it, you can go back and you can kind of see where all of the pieces fit together.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is kind of honestly one of the my favorite like twist movies,
Sure. Yeah.
like in terms of films that are centered on here's a twist, and it's tough to build that out well,
Mm-hmm.
but this one just does it so well to all of these complicated threads that it's pulling together.
I can't really think of many other twist movies outside of Shyamalan.
Yeah, I mean you have things like Fight Club is a big
Oh,
one,
I guess
um
that. Yeah. Fight Club. But
Parasite, which I
mm,
don't think you've seen.
I have not. So yeah. Yeah. There's not much that like stick out to me that are memorable to me outside of Prestige. Maybe Cabin in the Woods, but they
Yeah.
kind of ruined that early. So
Yeah, that one is has sort of. I like it though.
but yeah, Prestige again. It is a magic show trick film.
Yeah, yeah, and I think it's interesting. It's not only a magic trick of a film, but it's also about magic.
Yeah.
And we have this idea of like magic as science and science as magic, these sort of two things colliding. Because we have sort of a lot of explanation of the like intricate workings of magic and like how these different tricks are achieved and the
Yeah.
engineering behind them. And it reminded me a bit of, well, not reminded me because I saw this one first, but one of my favorite recent films, Nightmare Alley, the Guillermo del Toro film,
Hmm.
which is about a mentalist, so someone who does more of the like psychic stuff, like the guessing what you have in your pocket. Um, but it is sort of a similar thing of like, hey, here's this thing that we all are kind of aware of on some level because it's sort of seeped into pop culture enough. Even if we haven't been to a magic show, we're aware of it as a concept. um, and then explaining, sort of pulling back the curtain, being like, this is how it all works, this is everything
Hmm.
going on. But then we also have everything with Tesla and this idea of, what if the real magic is actually scientific? And obviously it gets a little bit sci-fi there, but
Yeah. Interesting sci-fi for sure.
yeah. But more than that, I think we also just have this idea of movies as magic.
Mm.
If Inception is about movies as dreams, then I think this film is about movies as magic.
Hmm.
And this idea that when a magician is doing a magic trick, you are suspending your disbelief for the sake of being entertained.
Right. Yes.
Um, you know, physically, logically, this is not possible, but you let yourself get caught up in the trick of it
Hmm.
to enjoy it. Um, and then maybe afterwards you try and figure out, okay, how did that work? Um,
Yeah.
but that is very similar to what you're doing when you walk into a movie. It's, you are aware on some level that it is 24 still frames being shown to you per second, but you allow that sort of the illusion of movement. You aren't thinking about that. You're allowing the story and the characters and the sound and all of that.
Hmm.
And then
Yeah.
even within the story, you aren't too caught up in the minutia of things, or hopefully you aren't. I mean, sometimes they can get a little bit too nitpicky, but yeah. The again, suspension of disbelief as this like core part of the contract between the audience and the entertainer.
Yeah. Boy, they have Tesla creates this very powerful machine that duplicates things, and they use it for a magic show, and they
Yeah.
just destroy it. And I'm like, bro, like, make food with that thing. Like, you can solve so many problems with a duplication machine. Like, all the food you want, money, destroy the economy. Why not? Um, just stuff like that. You use it for a magic show and then destroy it. Just like be careful with it. You can hide it. It's like, oh, let's have like a week's supply of bread. Boom, there you go.
That's interesting that you bring it up, because in the book that's pretty much exactly what happens. What ends up happening in the book is that, well, the first difference is that the machine is actually what kills the original copy.
Oh,
Um, so, but during one of the performances, rather than Angier intentionally in framing Borden just kind of shows up and sneaks backstage and notices there's like this electrical coil that looks like it's going to set the whole thing on fire. So he pulls it halfway through the transportation. So Angier, like, half of his self is in one spot and half in the other,
oh,
and
okay.
so it gets all weird, and like he starts like plotting things with himself. But one of the things is because the like original version of himself is very frail and weak, and is dying. So as part of his sort of, to make sure his family is okay, he duplicates a bunch of money, like gold, I think specifically.
Hmm. Okay.
And then
Well,
he keeps the machine in his house, and then it ends up factoring into the modern day plot line.
Okay. I kind of like. I think I kind of like the way they do the film better.
Yeah,
Like,
I both of them work, but yeah, it's the film has different goals than the book does.
sure, yeah.
Because it is like, yeah, in the film it's like Angier is so obsessed with his revenge and with besting Borden's trick that he doesn't even think of using the machine for his own personal gain. Like, it's literally just he's so focused on how am I gonna finally beat Borden
Mm-hmm. Yes.
that he doesn't even think to, like, oh, why don't I put some gold in here and have more gold?
Mm-hmm.
And in the movie he's more of like, his wealth is more or less dealt with. The book is very concerned about where is he getting his money.
Sure, yeah.
Yeah, we also, that's I think a good segue into one of the interesting themes that I think Nolan brings into this, the Nolan brothers, I should say, which is sort of art as an obsession.
Oh boy.
And the sort of there's so many things sort of swirling around it, but art as an obsession and sort of dedication and devotion to your craft, but what is it too far, and the conflicting desires for your work and for your family, and how those kind of interplay with each other. And this film is dealing it with those ideas in a very interesting way, where you have the twins who are each living half a life, and they're each motivated by different things.
Mm-hmm.
And that's actually a difference from the book. In the book they're more unified in their goals, and they're actually switching places in real life. um Basically they have made themselves one person in two bodies. Here it's more, okay, there's clearly one twin who wants to do this and the other wants to do that, and they're being torn apart by that desire.
Oh yeah.
And it's reminiscent of, the Dark Knight, where you have Bruce Wayne. Does he want to save Gotham and fulfill the vow he gave his parents, or does he want to live his happy life with Rachel and settle down? Or even something like Interstellar, you have a similar thing of, um, Cooper being like, do I stay with my family or do I save the planet? And it's a common thing in Nolan films, Christopher Nolan films specifically, that makes it kind of go, is Nolan okay? Like, is he doing fine?
How's his family life?
Yeah,
Like, I don't
how's
know.
his family life? He makes a lot of movies about parents being away from their kids.
Is he away from his kids a lot? Maybe.
I mean, he's a director, so yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And then you even have like Oppenheimer, where Oppenheimer just literally gives his kid to someone else because he's like, I can't deal with this right now. It's like that's sort of the one extreme of this, whereas this film is dealing kind of with the two sort of clashing with each other, the desire for family versus the desire for vocation. That might be a better term than work or craft. Or
Right. Yeah.
but yeah, it's all of this stuff sort of wrapped up in this puzzle box that makes it really fun to think about afterwards. Like Tenet, when I'm puzzling it together, I'm like, okay, I fit everything into order, and now it's sitting there, and now it's done, and there's nothing else. Whereas this one, there's themes and ideas and emotions and characters that are all tangled up in here. So even once you've
Yeah.
solved the puzzle box, there's still more to it to
Mm-hmm.
sort of think about.
This is such an underrated film. Like, when people think about Nolan, The Prestige is not one of the first things they think about. And
Yeah.
it's kind of a shame. It's like one of the hardest ones besides Insomnia to get your hands on because it's not streaming anywhere. Like, until that 4K release recently, it had not had a Blu ray re release except when it first came out. So it's like nobody even thinks about this film, but when they do, they're surprised.
Yeah, it's interesting because for me, this has always been one of my favorite Nolans, and so I don't think of it as in that way. Because for me, it's like, oh, this is as much with my perception of Nolan. This is as much a Nolan film as Inception, as The Dark Knight.
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah, I think more of like Nolan films from The Dark Knight up until Oppenheimer than I think about before that.
yeah,
So the Prestige just kind of barely misses that time frame for me to think
yeah,
about Nolan. So,
yeah, and I do think that is fair. I mean, this was when it came out a slight box office disappointment. Didn't
hmm,
make its budget back.
I mean, to be fair, it came out around the same time as The Illusionist. So,
Yes, they were competing for, and Nolan wasn't a name at this point. He wasn't
right.
someone that was bringing in an audience.
Hmm.
But in the years since, this has sort of become like I've definitely heard people talk about it. Of, oh, is this secretly Nolan's best film? Like, is this,
Potentially, yeah.
yeah, sort of the way they talk about, for any director, sort of that, oh, is this like, everyone knows Pulp Fiction, but is Jackie Brown really Quentin Tarantino's best film? Sort of the, is the one, are people overlooking one of the lesser known films here? And yeah, I
Right.
think for the Prestige that definitely rings true. This is even less than Memento. I think people don't always think of this initially as a Nolan masterpiece, but
It has less to do with time, but he still
yes.
utilizes like a non chronological story format for it as well. So,
Yep. Yeah. And it is sort of similar to a lot of his earlier films, a lot about duality and, again, this sort of being torn between two different desires.
hmm, hmm. This is a really good film that I like every time I watch it. But it's also one that I don't think about rewatching all the time.
Okay.
Like there are other Nolan films that like I could watch it again in the next couple of days or the next week. This one
Yeah.
I don't have that same reaction. I'm
Okay.
fully satisfied by the time I get to the end of the film.
I have the opposite reaction. I'm like, I want to go back and see what I missed. Maybe next time I'll be able to tell which Borden is which.
Hmm.
Maybe next time I'll figure out all of the little secrets that are hidden here. And yeah, as I said, the first time I watched it, I finished it, and then I think my grandparents were around and my sister, and I was like, hey, let's watch this together right now. I just watched it. Let's watch it together because I want to watch it again.
Yeah. Did I ever do that for like a film? I did that. The most recent one I remember is Jojo Rabbit. I
Okay.
watched it, and then the very next day, I was with my sister, and like, hey, sis, let's watch this. And so, yeah, I don't remember any other film.
Yeah, I've occasionally doesn't done it. I usually avoid it because I find too short of a turnaround, and you start to, like, it gets a little old if it's.
Right? Yeah.
But yeah, for this one, I think because the second viewing is so different than the first,
Hmm.
it really lends itself to rewatches.
Yeah, I can rewatch it a lot if I have like a new experience, like someone else is watching it with me. Then I'd
Yeah.
be like down for that. But for by myself, this one I think I need like a year or two in between to like
Okay.
really get the full amount of enjoyment from it.
Yeah, I think that does make sense. Again, for me, it's
Hmm.
different. I
Yeah.
just like watching it all play out. But yeah, I gave the story here a 5 out of 5. I think I have issues with the characters that we'll get into, but
Hmm.
the plot construction is so brilliant, and I think the non-chronological elements actually work better than any other time that Nolan has tried to do the same thing. I think it flows so well, and
Sure. Yeah.
again, it's just such a joy to rewatch and pick up on all of the little details and
Hmm.
things you missed. And yeah,
I give it a 4 out of 5. To me, there's a lot of other Nolan films that, for me, I enjoy slightly more. But then, like, there's some biases because I enjoy those genres more than, say, the Victorian London genre with
yeah.
magic.
Yeah, on to the
Characters.
characters. So first up, we have two
Borden
characters, Borden.
and
This is
Fallon.
yep. Um, we have I don't know if the what the just like their names are in the film, but I've just been referring to them as Alfred and Freddie because those are the names we hear. The book actually, they're named two different names, which I just finished it, but I don't remember off the top of my head. But then the combination of those names is Alfred.
Hmm.
Um, Again, the book gets a lot more into like the backstory and everything, whereas the film is very condensed, with some very major changes here and there. But yeah, we have these are two people living the same singular life, kind of.
Boy, that's like twins in general. Like, if they want to screw with you, that's what they do.
Yeah, I honestly don't know all that many twins, and most of the twins I know just one of them,
Sure.
or at least that I know of.
Yeah.
But yeah, yeah, we have sort of these two people with sort of conflicting desires that like it doesn't register as much the first time around, because
Hmm.
they are conflicting desires that people do have, this sort of like freedom versus family, vengeance versus happiness, art versus being in a happy stable family.
Yeah.
Like these are things that manifest for people,
Hmm.
but here it's literalized as okay, these are actually two separate people who are kind of pushing and pulling between these things.
That's an interesting way to do those themes
Yeah,
in a way that doesn't get overly complicated. You can just simplify it by, like, one character is this, the other one is this, versus they're both
yeah.
that, and you have to try to juggle which is which at times.
No, I wouldn't say this particular thing is very simple because
No.
you don't pick up on the differences between the two of them even necessarily on a second viewing. That's more of like once you've seen it a few times, then you can kind of pick up on okay, this scene Alfred is Borden, and in this scene Freddy is Borden.
Hmm.
Um, but they are sort of inextricably tied together through their devotion to their art here. This sacrifice that they have decided to make to be like, we will, above all else, maintain the illusion that we are one person.
Even to the point of having to chop each other's fingers off.
Yeah,
Oh,
which that is a sort of the dedication and obsession that would take.
not very healthy, but
No, not at all.
for sure.
I don't think this film is trying to imply that either Bordens or Angier are healthy,
Definitely not.
well-adjusted individuals.
It's a very conflicting film. It's like, who do I root for? Because they're both going too far. So it
Yeah,
just comes down to which actor do you like a little bit more.
yeah. I don't know. It is sort of you have these two protagonists, and neither one is the clear hero, and neither one is the clear villain. I think you could compare it to like Ron Howard's Rush or Noah Baumbach's Marriage Story in that way, where yes, two different people and they'll have two different takeaways from it. Yeah, I am curious. Were you able at all on rewatches to distinguish which one is which in certain scenes?
Sometimes
Yeah,
I can't like give you specific names about when and where, but like there are some times where it's like, okay, this one is more like that, and that one's kind of like that, but I haven't like nailed down exactly. I've just kind of let the story go and like
yeah,
spot it when I can. I haven't tried to figure it out.
yeah. The simplest way to sort of, I mean, so you have Alfred, who's the one who wants the family. He's the one who's actually in love with Sarah. We have this idea that Sarah brings up of, oh, some days it feels like you love me
Hmm.
and sometimes it feels like you don't, which is a really clever way of hinting at
Yeah,
these twins.
and that's one way where you can tell slightly who is who.
Yeah.
One you can tell is putting on an act to be pleasing to his family, like like when they first meet Sarah, when he sneaks into her room, um, like I can somewhat tell that the one that in his room is probably not as interested. He he's putting on a performance that's like, aha, look at me. I'm like, oh, is he the one that likes her? Or what's the one that liked her is the one that has to leave his brother alone with her?
No, that is a brilliant scene of like
Hmm.
he shows up and she's like, "Okay, Fallon, leave the room." Then tells Borden, "Hey, I have a baby." And his reaction is, "Oh, we should have kept Fallon in the room." Because Fallon is Alfred, the one who would actually
Mm.
want the family. And yeah, all of this is added by the Nolans. This isn't in the book.
Hmm.
In the book, I mean, Sarah's barely a character in the book. And her function is more, she doesn't even realize at any point that she doesn't believe someone tells her, "Hey, your husband is actually twins," and she doesn't believe it. Um, Whereas here she kind of maybe figures it out. But yeah, in the book, they're sort of the two twins are more united in their purpose.
Yeah.
Whereas in this film, you can definitely tell which is which in certain cases.
Hmm.
Because yeah, you have Freddy, he's a little bit less. How would you put it? Like he's the one who wants more freedom.
Right.
He's
He.
a little less kept on the leash.
Hmm.
Um, he seems to be the one who's more obsessed with getting back at Angier for all of the different things because he's the one who sneaks backstage and gets framed.
Right. And why? Is it because is he the one that they had to chop off his fingers, and so he's getting revenge for his brother, or is he the one that got shot and he's mad about that?
Yeah, I think he's the one who had to have his fingers cut off because the way he acts with Sarah in the scene after he gets his fingers cut off,
Hmm.
where
Okay.
she's like, "Oh, this is so much worse than it was before." His reactions to Sarah feel less loving.
Hmm.
And
Okay.
I have a theory that because usually the easiest way to tell them apart is that usually if Fallon is in a scene, he's Alfred. So Freddy is then Borden. So and then if Fallon isn't in the scene, then it's usually Alfred is Borden. The one exception that I could think of off the top of my head is that scene where Angier shoots the bullet, where because we have here's sort of the ambiguity here. The question is who tied the knot that led to Julia's death.
Yeah.
Um, and I think it was probably Freddy. Because in that scene with between the two of them he when Angier loads the gun and is asking which knot did you tie, and Borden does not know, and he looks over to Fallon like, help me out here. Which knot did you tie? Is sort
Hmm.
of the implication of that. So I from what I can tell, it's Alfred who gets shot, and then Freddy who has to chop the fingers off.
That darn secret just really ruins everything at the end.
Yeah, and that is actually, again, that's something invented for the book. There's no hand injury in the, or something invented for the movie. There's no hand injury in the book.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because yeah, the book is sort of less interested in the twins as two separate people. Yeah, I don't know. It's interesting to kind of think of which character is which in which seed, and it is left a little ambiguous sometimes. Sometimes it's okay. This is clearly, when Borden shows up drunk at the restaurant with Olivia,
Mm-hmm.
um,
Yeah.
in front of Sarah and Fallon. It's like, okay, that is clearly Freddie bringing Olivia, who, because he's in love with Olivia and Alfred is in love with Sarah.
I'm just
So
that poor daughter. Like,
yeah,
like she's gonna be so confused growing up. Like, she's like had kind of like two dads, and then this random guy who took her for a period of time. Now she's like with her dad who loves her or something.
yeah,
Like, what is he gonna tell her? Is he gonna tell her that he had a brother or not? It's like, does she know that his supposed father was hanged? Like, oh, that girl.
yeah. No, it's you end up in the movie feeling bad for the characters around these two protagonists for
Like, even when they,
everything.
yeah, even when they think that there's a happy ending, there is no happy ending. Like, the years of trauma that's gonna happen. Like, even Michael Caine's character is gonna like feel so bad because like, oh,
Yeah,
these boys that he trained and all they went down this dark path, and now like half of them, most of them are dead. So at
yeah.
least he has a little girl.
Now, I do want to say one more thing about Borden before we move on, which is that in the duality of the movie, Borden is the better magician.
Hmm.
Within the Bordens, there's actually this implication that maybe Alfred is the better of the two at the magician, like specifically the trick part.
Right.
Which leads us into our next character, Angier, played by Hugh Jackman, iconically the greatest showman. That is his role here. He is the better showman.
Yes.
He's just like, that's what he's really, really good at. He can sell the performance, and he's less adept at the technique. This is
Hmm.
actually an even bigger thing in the book, where in the book he's actually unable to figure out a magic trick unless someone tells him how it works. Like he gets caught up in the performance of it, which leads to him being this really great performer because he understands the audience's perspective better than other magicians, better than Borden specifically.
Hmm.
And it holds true for this as well. You're watching especially the early Transported Man scenes with Borden, and it's like he doesn't have all that much energy. He's relying on the trick to sell it. Whereas
Right.
Angie could like sell tiny, tiny magic tricks as this huge big deal because he has the personality and the confidence, and yeah.
Mhm. Yeah. He's the more charming of the two. I want to say that he's probably the main character of the film.
Yeah.
He's more screen time,
Yeah, I
I
think he has
believe.
more screen time. But I think part of that is because he doesn't have as big of a twist.
Right.
So
But
they
he
can
has that
show him
early
more.
film emotional stakes with his wife dying, so
Yeah.
you kind of tend to follow him more than Borden.
Yeah. Yeah. Especially the first time around.
Oh yeah.
And yeah, I mean, Borden, not only do you have this sort of the vengeance plotline, but also Borden just frustrates him because Angier knows that Borden is the better magician,
Mm-hmm.
but the worst showman. So it's like it frustrates him that like here's this guy who could do really good, who could do better magic than I can, but can't sell it.
And
And I'm
like,
here, I can sell it, but I don't have as good of magic.
yeah, to the point where like the whole transported man, like it's explained very early on, like it's clearly a double,
Yeah.
but like he will not believe it because it's like that's just too simple. Like Borden is much better than that.
Yeah. And it is both that simple and so much more complicated.
Right.
But Angier can't fathom. Yeah, he just can't imagine something. Same with the fishbowl and the older magician. It's Borden who figures that out versus Angier has to be told that, and even once he's been told, he doesn't quite believe it
Mm-hmm.
because he's like, why would you do that? Why would you? Because he is hiding who he is, but it's a much less dedicated process than what Borden is doing. For him, it's pretending to have an American accent and taking on a different name.
Yep.
It's like just kind of something he can casually do.
Right.
Whereas for Borden, it's so much more complicated,
Mm-hmm.
and it leads to Angier is fueled by envy, and that's sort of his motivation throughout here. Um, also by vengeance, but he wants Borden's tricks. He wants Borden's family, not literally, but sort of what the family represents, the happiness he thinks that represents.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Um, and eventually he actually gets both. He gets Borden's daughter and he gets a better trick than Borden's, but
He
he's still
also, yeah,
unhappy.
he also buys Borden's tricks when he's in prison.
Yeah. And he's still unhappy.
Yeah.
And I think there's an extent because Borden was also kind of unhappy.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe not may, not in like Borden had because it's two characters. So
Yeah.
one Borden was happy sometimes and the other was happy other times, and they were both weren't happy at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
Um so Angier kind of falls into that same pit, but since he's only one person, then he's just unhappy all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And then the whole irony of this is that he's actually a wealthy lord this entire time.
Yep. Yep.
And again, in the book, he's lost his inheritance and then he gets it back again. So there's a whole thing there. But here we just see very little of that.
And
But
so
we
you
have
don't really think about him being a lord.
yeah, you have sort of this classic tale though of like the unhappy rich person and the happy poor person.
Hmm.
But with that little thing of like Borden isn't happy either. There is that little bit of a twist on it there. But this idea of Angier wanting for something that money can't buy him,
Mm-hmm.
both this talent and this happiness that he sees other people having. And I kind of wish that the film leaned into it a little bit more, sort of the class divide between the two of them.
Maybe.
That Borden is like this talented person who, well, people who have made their way in the world and sacrificed a lot, whereas Angier is this wealthy person who's kind of bought his way into it and isn't nearly as talented. And then sort of the lengths they go to kind of get back at each other. And yeah, I mean, this is also, I think, Nolan is not generally a class conscious filmmaker.
Hmm.
Even something like The Dark Knight Rises, where he's very much dealing with class, it's not as directly as maybe he could be. I think that isn't just a theme that interests him in the way that like Ridley Scott or Bong Joon-ho are kind of often thinking about class in their films. I think that's just kind of like, for Nolan, it's less of an intentional thing when it shows up in his films. And I think that's why the twist that Angier is this lord doesn't necessarily land as a twist, especially like the first few times you watch it.
Yeah.
Because yeah, they haven't, even though there's a line early on about how he's had to change his name because of his family. You don't catch on to the deeper meaning of that
Right.
necessarily.
And so I didn't really catch the reveal of him being a lord. I just thought he was putting on an act. But okay.
Yeah.
So next we have Cutter.
Yeah. He's much expanded from his role in the book.
Mm-hmm.
He's an audience here who exists a lot for the audience's benefit. I
Right.
mean that in a good way. Like he's there to explain what's going on in key moments and kind of be the person telling the audience, hey, this is what's happening and here's how you should feel about it.
Mm-hmm.
But he's still involved in the story a little bit. He's in the story, but he still has enough distance to kind of call out, especially Angier, who's kind of going to extremes, and Cutter
Um,
will call him out for that.
except when, he helps in the kidnapping of Fallon, who
Yes.
buries him alive. Like, what?
Yeah, that feels out of character for the movie version of Cutter. That is more in character for the book version of Cutter.
Right. It's like, what? You do that? You're burying this random guy alive. You don't know that he's the other brother. To you, like, he's just the guy who comes up with ideas for Borden, and yet
Yeah.
you're gonna kidnap him and bury him? Like, that's murder. He didn't murder your wife. Why are you burying him?
Yeah. Yeah, and here Cutter kind of, besides that moment, is generally uninterested in the conflict between the two
Right.
magicians,
Yeah.
because he sees both of them, since he was kind of their mentor for both of them.
Mm-hmm.
um but yeah, here he just kind of, yeah, he's there to kind of explain things. He explains what the prestige is and a bunch of the different magic stuff. And
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I don't know, besides kidnapping Fallon, he just kind of seems like a nice guy.
Yeah, that nice Michael Caine guy.
Yeah, who occasionally kidnaps random people.
Yeah. And holds an axe whenever someone's doing the drowning trick.
Which is a nice thing to do in that particular context.
And he stops Borden from trying to break the glass when Angier's is drowning under the stage. Also, none of them know how to do CPR or just to, like, dude, like, you can still save her. Get the water out of her chest. Don't just sit there and just let her be there with the water inside her. You can still try to do something.
To be fair, I don't know if that was as common knowledge then as it is now.
I mean, maybe. Speaking of wives.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Let's talk about Sarah, because she's
Sarah.
tough to talk about here. She starts out so incredibly charming and
Mm-hmm.
then sort of becomes increasingly frustrated with her husband/husbands.
Oh,
But I
Sarah.
feel like the movie loses sight of her a little bit in the second half.
She turns into shock, essentially. Just
Yeah.
the thing to shock the audience because she takes her life. And it
Yeah.
just, when you watch it the first time, it's like, oh, shock value. It's like, oh no, she's dead. But like on repeat, it's like, wait a minute, why did she do that?
Yeah. So here's the confusing thing, is that she claims to have figured out Borden's secret.
Mm-hmm.
We never get much of a sense of why, because if she said anything, it would ruin the twist later in the movie.
Yeah.
But it does make that's the one thing where like you're rewatching it and you're thinking about it and you're like, wait, does she know? Does she not know? Because it doesn't seem like she knows, but it also doesn't seem like she doesn't know.
It really seems like she did it out of spite.
Yeah.
Which just it's like, but you have a daughter and like
Yeah,
you
the
technically still have your
motivation there.
family.
The motivation there is, and again, they can't do a ton with that because they're trying not to ruin the twist, but it ends up really undercutting this character. Because I can see the motivation behind her. She's in such despair because not only is she married to this guy who doesn't love her, she's also married to a guy who does love her, but who cares more about his career and his magic than her.
Yeah, you could.
But the movie doesn't do that because again, it's not going to
No.
ruin the twist, so we never get that said. So it's just kind of the Nolan dead wives and girlfriends that we've talked about. She's one of the more frustrating because I don't know. It feels so meaningless,
Y- it just.
and it serves no purpose in the story besides shock value.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Boy, no. Like you could do a thing where Borden does bad things where it's like he pushes her away even more. She feels isolated, separates her from her child, or maybe the other Borden who's not in love with her is a little bit more abusive. Like
Yeah,
maybe. But like nothing really happens except I don't love you today.
yeah.
And
Though
then
I
she
think there's the implication that it's more than just that, but then it never the movie never reckons with Alfred's culpability in all of this, like specifically Alfred Borden, the one who's in love with her,
Mhm.
where he started a relationship with her knowing full well he would never tell her his secret, and the movie never points that out in any significant way
No.
about how terrible of a thing that is to do to a person, and then how he maintains the secret even when it's causing her like intense distress.
Like that's just it's your wife.
Yeah,
Like at that point you can tell her that you have a twin brother using for your performance. It's like you have a family, families keep secrets.
yeah,
But like the emotional abuse.
yeah.
uh,
No, yeah, and that, she says she's figured it out, and if they were well-adjusted adults, what they would do is, okay, let's sit down and have a conversation about it, the three of us. Instead, they just kind of don't.
honestly, I really just was like, man, Borden and Angier should just shut up with their stupid antics of trying to hurt each other and ruin each other's shows and just have a pint and talk it out because they never talk to each other.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, yeah. So, and I think part of it that is partially the point of the movie is like, if any of these people talked to each other, their lives would be so much better. But because they're so caught up in this like world of secrets and lies, but it is frustrating when it comes to Sarah's character because it's not just the other characters in the film that are treating her poorly. It's the narrative itself that is not letting us not giving her the due she deserves.
Right. I
And yeah,
guess this is another reason why like I don't rewatch this as much because I know how frustrating like this rivalry is. It's like, oh, come on, guys. Like you could talk or like, come on, man. Don't torture
yeah,
your wife like that.
yeah. I think the rivalry thing, that's just kind of like that is partially the point of it.
Right. Yeah.
But this everything with Sarah just feels so needlessly cruel in the way that the movie never says it is. It kind of wants
Mhm.
Alfred to have clean hands in this. To be like, oh, he actually loved her, so he's not responsible in any way. When actually, no, he bears some responsibility. It reminds me of, not in a bad way, of The Power of the Dog, which is one of
Mm.
my favorite of all time films. And I won't get into too many spoilers because that is a film that has some very interesting twists. But one of the things that happens is there's this sort of central four character contentious relationship, and so it's two brothers, and one brother gets married, and brings his wife into this household, but his brother is very abusive, and so he brings this woman into this abusive situation,
Mhm.
and then kind of abandons her there, not completely intentionally, but here's an example of a film that's like actually diving into this and kind of digging into, like, wait a second, maybe there is a bit of culpability there.
Mhm.
Maybe it's not just, oh, he was loving, so he's fine. Maybe there's a little bit more blame to go around. But no, the Prestige is just like, no, Alfred was the good one, so he's fine. And Freddy got hanged, so hooray for that.
Hooray!
Now Alfred and his daughter can live free of the
Trauma.
secret.
I guess. Ugh.
Yeah, again, I wouldn't have as much of a problem with it if the film was dealing with it more, the repercussions,
Right.
and yeah, it feels kind of like textbook fridging. Like,
Sure. Sarah dies, and like nobody seems to notice.
yeah, no,
Like
there's
the,
like
the
one
child
scene
doesn't know
after,
that her mom's dead. She's
yeah,
blindly going on, just happy as usual. Like she's
yeah,
not a very little kid, so like she's got to notice something.
yeah, yeah. I think that is my biggest frustration with the characters here, is that, yeah, you have it's, yeah, it's just fridging. It's just,
Hmm.
here's a character whose death means nothing except shock value.
Hmm.
And yeah, that, like, we've talked a lot about the Nolan's dead wives, but this is, I think, the most egregious that we've talked about
It's
so
the
far.
most frustrating one.
But yeah, not to belabor that too much. We should get on to Olivia, who's slightly better handled than Sarah.
Yeah, the homewrecker.
Yeah, her motivations are easier to follow. I mean, she's
Right.
not technically, because the brother she loves is not in love with Sarah.
Right, but like, does she know that? She
Yeah,
she alludes to maybe knowing that, but like, she has a whole thing. It's like, leave your family at home. You're here with me.
yeah,
So from that line of dialogue, like, even if it wasn't a double, like she know that she's wrecking a home.
yeah. I
But
mean,
still, besides that, yes, she's better handled than Sarah.
yeah, it is the kind of thing of like, yeah, if the two Bordens and Sarah and Olivia all sat down and had a conversation together,
Mm-hmm.
maybe they would be able to sort it out.
Right.
But yeah, I think partially the movie is kind of about being like, hey, if these people didn't have secrets, then their lives might be better. And I think it's also just partially that's not what the movie is interested in doing.
Right.
Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, her motivations are a lot easier to follow, which I think is helped by the fact that she isn't too involved with the twin twist. She's just kind of peripheral to that. Her bigger
Right.
thing is the double crossing.
Yeah.
And I really like that sort of. even more than the book, because the book reveals it immediately. That's, I think, the first time you see Olivia. It's like, or like within a chapter, it's like, oh
Mm.
yeah, she was working for Angier and now she's working for me. Whereas here, it's, we see her working with Angier, and then they build this rapport and this relationship, and then he's like, okay, go and spy on Borden for me.
Mm-hmm.
She goes, okay, and spies on Borden. And then later, once Angier is reading through this decoded diary, he comes to this point where he realizes, oh no, Olivia actually double crossed me. She gave me the diary specifically because it was written to lead me on a wild goose chase to go find Tesla.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, all of that is from the book, but it's revealed in a different order.
Right, yeah.
And here it works so much better and makes her character so much more interesting.
Ah, Angier. You just had to push the woman away.
Yeah. Yeah, I think there is sort of a criticism of these characters in their relationships to Olivia, where both of them end up losing her because they're terrible towards her and kind of treat her as a pawn in their game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, and I just kind of wish the same sort of attention had been paid to Sarah as a character.
Right, yeah.
Gotta get the dead wife slash girlfriend in your Nolan film.
I guess.
Here there's two. In the book there's zero. I don't know how you go from 0 to 2 in
Yeah.
the adaptation
Well, at
process.
least Olivia didn't die.
Yeah.
She left with some dignity.
Yep. Now, speaking of leaving with dignity, we have Tesla.
Oh yeah, Tesla.
Yeah, this movie made me a Tesla fan. I don't know
Mm,
much about him besides what this movie says and what I hear elsewhere, but
right. David Bowie.
yes.
Like I didn't even know who David Bowie was, but like David Bowie is Tesla. Like what?
Yeah, he's sort of the Oppenheimer figure here.
He is. He's
He's the
totally the
scientist who
Oppenheimer.
invents something terrible and regrets it, but
No,
has
he's not
to.
the Oppenheimer figure. Oppenheimer's the Tesla figure.
Okay, that's probably, since, yeah, timeline wise.
Right?
But yeah,
But yes.
this sort of scientist who's reflecting on his life, he almost serves a similar role to Einstein in Oppenheimer.
Hmm.
Sort of this older figure who's looking back and reflecting on his mistakes. I really like the idea he says here, which again, this is something from the movie, not from the book. In the book, Tesla is more of like a functional character,
Hmm.
whereas here he's given more thematic weight. Um, but this idea that like you only get one invention, you only get to revolutionize the world once, and after that, if you try again, everyone's gonna treat you like you're insane.
Right.
And sort of the connections to Tesla's real life, where he was, this incredibly gifted inventor who was shunned out of being able to invent stuff and was on the run from creditors. And Einstein, or not Einstein, Edison.
Edison. Can you
I,
imagine Einstein?
John keeping me on track when I misspeak as usual.
Of course. Edison. I actually didn't really notice this comparison. Edison
Yeah,
versus Tesla. But now that you point it out, it's so obvious.
yeah,
Yes.
they're a mirror to Angier and Borden.
Mm.
Um, in terms of, and it's interesting because Tesla and Angier are the two that work together, and actually kind of uh, in that sense, because I think Tesla is sort of the analog to Borden, where he's this genius who is stolen from and then cast aside. And then Edison is Angier, the businessman who uses any means necessary to get his way.
Hmm.
And so even though throughout the movie, you kind of get the sense of like, oh, Angier and Borden, if they ever worked together again, they would actually make for a really good team. Because one's a good showman, the other's a good magician. Put the two of them together, and you have the best magic act ever. And that's kind of in going to Tesla. That's what Angier is doing,
Mm-hmm.
but he's doing the scientific version of it instead of the magical version of it.
Right. Just
Yeah, I mean,
casually creates a teleporter slash duplicator.
yeah, yeah. It's such an interesting part of the film. This sort of everything to do with Tesla and like the themes it brings in and the ideas it's sort of playing with, and then to have it be this historical figure who was actually in this time period conducting experiments in Colorado Springs. Have you
Mm-hmm.
ever been there?
I don't think so. No,
Okay, I've been there a couple of times. I know people
I've
who
been to
live there.
Colorado, been to the Grand Canyon, but I don't think I went to Colorado Springs.
Okay, but yeah, you
But
have.
anyway, Tesla has
Yeah,
a friend
yes,
who, Allie.
Ali, he's so wonderful.
I can't get past the fact that Andy Serkis is speaking English, American English. It's like, oh no, that doesn't sound right. No.
I like him. He's Tesla's Cutter.
I love him.
He's just such a sweet little character.
Andy Serkis
Yeah,
is just so lovable.
yeah.
Even as the terrible Gollum, I love him.
Yeah, and he just has. I mean, he doesn't have a huge significant role, but he's just memorable
Mm-hmm.
here. And
Yeah.
then I love the cat,
The cat.
and that is something in the book. This character is in the book in a slightly similar role, and
Mm-hmm.
his pet cat is the one that gets experimented on. That one, it's
Mm.
actually his family's pet cat because he has
Oh,
kids. Here, it's kind of just implied that he lives with Tesla in the workshop.
and he has a cat that
And he
he
has a cat.
likes.
Yeah.
It's like, you can't use my cat, Tesla. Stop it. Tesla's got like no chill. I'll kill a cat.
That is a change from the book as well. In the book, Tesla's like, "Oh, I don't want to kill a cat," and then in the movie, it's just like, "Ah, it's a cat. Who cares?"
Yeah, science. We must use different materials. Ergo, cat. So what's Allie gonna do with two cats now?
Who knows?
Is he gonna
They're
turn
alley
them in?
cats.
Ah, you beat me to it! Darn you! Okay, okay, yes, yeah. Because of that stupid joke, I gave the characters a 4 out of 5.
Yeah,
No.
the mishandling of Sarah really brings it
Oh yeah.
down. It's a 4 out of 5 for me here.
Ah, Sarah. Plus, like, our main characters are just such jerks.
Which, to me, I don't always love when the main characters are jerks, but in this one it works for me. But
I
again,
know.
Sarah, you could have made something out of that character, but
Mm-hmm.
no. Anyway, on to the visuals here.
Interesting. Like, this is before Nolan has that style that he kept from Dark Knight on.
Yeah, I was thinking about this of like, yeah, I think Nolan should make more movies in nature because he's gotten very industrial. Um,
Hmm.
and I think since then, the times that he's focused more on nature have been in the beginning of Interstellar and then the Los Alamos scenes in Oppenheimer.
Hmm.
And I think watching The Prestige, it's like, oh, yeah, he knows how to shoot nature well, especially like mountains and mountainous areas.
Yeah.
And I mean, I guess you do have like the mountain in Inception, but that feels very like, I don't know, since it's snow covered, it feels very different.
Right. Yeah.
You have like the planets in Interstellar, but those again, those feel different than the like. They have less color. I think part of what I'm responding to here is the color. I like seeing the greens and the blues and the rather than the grays and the more grays.
Sure, but I appreciate the grays.
I mean, I don't dislike the visuals in any of his other films, and it isn't all grays, but it's more sort of industrial or urban. Whereas here we
And
get more of like the nature.
I don't know. I don't know. I think those just stood out to me a lot more. This just kind of it's not as memorable to me.
Okay, I just love so much of the visuals here, like that scene where they're on Tesla's balcony and you have the mountains behind them. I love that. I love all of the hats in the woods with the cats. And then yeah, we're seeing magic tricks.
I love it.
And yeah, you're watching them be performed. And even though, it's less impressive on screen, where, we're aware that there can be trickery done to sell the trick.
Oh yeah, like I know that's a stand-in when Angier has his double,
Yep.
because like there's not really a point where they're both on the screen at the same time
Yep.
looking at each other. It's always the back of one head, who's clearly not Hugh Jackman, um, looking at Hugh Jackman.
And I do think some of that is intentional. Nolan is interested in the artificiality of the tricks,
Mm-hmm.
and how despite that you suspend your disbelief. So yeah, there is sort of less, you're invested in it enough to like buy the magic tricks, even though you're aware of like, oh yeah, obviously Christian Bale didn't step out of the other, did it magically transport between these two cupboards to step out of the other one. You can see the edit. They cut from a close up, then they do a wide shot of the ball bouncing, then they cut to another close up of him stepping out of the other one. You can tell they aren't trying
Right.
to hide that that they have used editing in this scene. But
Mm-hmm.
it sells the effect of it because you're seeing the crowd react, and it's been built up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think that the visuals that stand with me the most are just anything that have to do with Tesla, like the lights,
Yeah.
the light bulbs on the mountain, just
The light bulbs in the snow just look
the
so good.
currents when
Yeah.
they're in the performance, like those look really cool. Like I love all that.
Yeah.
Everything else I don't remember as much. I'm not really a big fan of this time period as well.
Okay.
As well, like visually, it's just not as interesting to me. But you know,
Yeah. I like it. It's sort of Dickensian almost, even though this is, I think, post Dickens by quite a
mhm.
bit. But yeah, I don't know. I really like the visuals here. I will say, the Fallon makeup is so obvious on rewatches.
It is clearly something.
Like you're like, how does anyone believe this person? Like if you look at him for more than 3 seconds, and the movie is very good at, especially the first time you aren't looking at him for more than 3 seconds.
I mean, most of the time, like he's just looking down like this.
Yeah,
Really, like he's not really looking straight at things. He's always like in the shadows or just looking kind of shy. He's have his hat covering his face, but like it's the cheeks, these the
yeah,
chubby cheeks that they
yeah,
gave him. That's like interesting.
yeah. I gave the visuals a 5 out of 5. I feel confident enough in how much I like them.
I gave them a 4. They're solid, but there's just other films that just, for me, those are my style of Nolan.
Okay. Now, next up, we have the performances,
Mm-hmm.
which are, I mean, some really incredible work. We have things like Hugh Jackman doing his different accents, and like
Mm-hmm.
you buy that he is an American character until he pulls out his British accent. You're like, wait, what? What?
Right.
And then I think Christian Bale is doing some really good work as playing two characters without making it obvious he's playing two characters, and you get a sense
Mm,
of
yeah.
who's who, and yeah,
It's
it's
just really weird to think of Hugh Jackman being in a Christopher Nolan film. It's just I don't think about that when I think of Hugh Jackman. You know, you just go
yeah,
straight to Wolverine or musical theater. But Nolan, it's like, wait, yeah, he is in a Nolan film.
but it starts smart casting, since the whole point of Angier is that he's the greatest showman.
Right.
So you cast the musical theater guy and he knocks it out of the park.
Mm-hmm.
And then
Yeah.
you have Christian Bale, who's a little bit more introspective, a little bit more sort of self reflective.
You
But
got
he's
Batman and
also,
Alfred again in this film.
yep. Yeah, you have Michael Caine, who's he spends more time with Hugh Jackman, but he's just always a delight.
Mm-hmm.
You have Scarlett Johansson, who's I think pretty good. I don't think this is one of her better performances, but she does what the film needs her to do.
I always forget that she's in this film.
Yeah, for me, she's less memorable here than Hugh Jackman and
Right.
Christian
Yeah.
Bale. I did also want to shout out Rebecca Hall, who plays Sarah, who she's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
She's great actress and great director. She did Passing from a few years ago. That's a very excellent film. One of the few sort of, it's made in the style of the 1920s that actually looks like it could have been made in the 1920s from the visual style of it.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Um, or might have been 30s, whatever, 40s. Who cares?
And of
Anyway,
course, David Bowie.
yeah.
Like,
So, are you a Bowie fan?
no, not
Okay.
really. I haven't listened to much Bowie. Like to me, David Bowie's just like a name that
Yeah.
people pop out. I know that he's in Labyrinth, and
Yep.
that's everything else I know about his film career.
Yeah.
Um,
You've heard his songs, even if
oh
you don't know.
yeah, like
But
I
yeah.
definitely heard his songs around. I just haven't really paid close attention to what his songs are. Um, but yeah, no, just what a bizarre choice. Just
Yeah.
think.
Apparently Nolan had to like practically beg him to be in the movie. Had to like show up in person and be like, "Hey, please, I want you in my movie."
But Tesla, it's just
But he fits the role so well, and that's like his whole persona works very well with the character.
mm-hmm.
And then yeah, Andy Serkis, who we talked about a bit.
Yeah.
He's just, it's wonderful to see him when he's not CG.
Yes. The rare times we see him not being screen capped for sure.
Yeah. So yeah, I gave the performances a 4.5 out of 5. Just really stellar all around.
And I'm giving it a 4. I think they're great. I just don't there wasn't like one scene that
Yeah.
just stood out to me compared to other films.
I think if I were to rewatch it looking specifically at like Christian Bale's performance as the two different Bordens, I think that would stand out as a really, really solid piece of acting work.
Yeah, probably, but like there isn't one obvious like scene or choice that I'm like, oh yeah, that's a
Oh
really
yeah, yeah.
good scene that I can just look at another film and be like, oh yeah, there's one. But yes, the last thing we have to talk about is the sound. Yes.
Yeah, this is exciting as we go back in the Nolan films. The dialogue becomes more and more intelligible, and in
Yes.
this one, we can finally hear all the dialogue. We have
Yes.
reached the point. There were no muffled lines.
There was for me, but yeah, that was just maybe I was eating a chip too loud or
Okay.
something. But no, I watched this film on MGN Plus because it's not streaming anywhere else. And like a funny thing is, I put on subtitles. The subtitles like were for a completely different movie.
Oh,
So
that's
like
odd.
yeah, I'm watching it. It's like dog barking, TV static. Someone's talking about the apocalypse or something. I'm like, what? Like, that's not what's going on. It was just so bizarre.
Yeah, that is odd. I was watching the DVD release, the Touchstone DVD release. Must have been the original run because it had trailers for Ratatouille on it. Of
Oh.
course, Touchstone, a subsidiary of Disney at that point. So
Mhm.
this is technically a Disney film.
Technically.
Yes, through several layers of different ownership. But yeah, I good sound design, dialogue. You can hear most of it. I could hear all of it.
Right. The
I did it.
score is, I think, generally good. I
Yeah,
remember the score mostly and like the final performance for Hugh
yeah.
Jackman with that style. But the one thing that really stood out is the end credits music. I was so confused
Yeah,
when that
the
started playing. I was like, is this a movie thing or like is this a streaming thing? I was so confused.
yeah, no,
Like,
that is the Radiohead song that plays at the end of this.
it's so
Will
bad.
out of place. I mean, yeah, it's a Radiohead song.
No, it's just it doesn't work. Like, why is that there?
Yeah,
It's,
it yeah, maybe on its own it works better, but yeah, I would agree that it's a little bit like why
it just it immediately breaks the tension of what just happened before, which is like that body reveal of the tank with the body. You see that, and it's like, oh, music starts playing. It's like, whoa, what's this? It's like,
yeah. Oh, and I misspoke. It's actually Analyze, which is a Tom York song. Tom York being the lead singer of Radiohead. So
okay, okay.
the man who I believe the podcast This Has Oscar Buzz referred to him as sounding like dying whales, which I don't disagree with, even though I like some of his music.
Okay.
Yeah, but no, this should not be the end credit song for The Prestige. It
Especially like
should be. Oh,
the
go ahead.
immediate song for the
Yeah,
credits.
yeah, it's like it pulls you out of it so quickly. It should be more of the score, not in song. And maybe Nolan just really liked the song, but I don't know.
that's so out of place for Nolan. Like we've watched all these films, like the music is just fit, but this, wow, it's just
Wait a second. Wait a second. What if it had been a David Bowie song? Like
uh
an original David Bowie song that he wrote for the movie.
uh I don't know, but
Yeah.
continuing with my list here, I gave The Sound of Four.
Yeah. I gave it a 4.5 out of 5. I boosted it a little bit for being able to hear the dialogue. But yeah, that last song is a baffling choice.
Yes.
So yeah, that leaves my final score as a 23 out of 25, which is a 92% or a 4.6 on our 5-star scale.
And I have a total of 20, which is an 80% or 4 5-star rating.
Yep. Again, we aren't gonna be revealing where this falls in our rankings because we have our official Nolan ranking episode coming up soon. But
Yay.
yeah, you can look forward to that and see where this ranks among Nolan's films for us. And yeah, thank you everyone for listening. Make sure to follow us on social media. We are Binging Barbie Podcast on Instagram and Tumblr, at Binging Barbie on Twitter, and Binging Barbie, a Barbie movie podcast on Letterboxd. There you can find a list of all of our rankings except the Nolan ones, which we will be revealing later. And if you enjoyed this episode, make sure to leave a 5-star review. We will be back next week with our episode on Nolan's 4th film, Batman Begins.
Abracadabra. Snap. Bye.
Bye, Barbie.
Bye. Barb.